Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. CDL Surge are one of the most controversial teams in the CDL right now, and Simp and Pred have come out over the last 24 hours to defend Accuracy's role and performances on the team as of late, implying they're not going to make any roster changes anytime soon, despite the fact that they might need one to improve, and that Simp and Pred are probably leaving anyway to join another team at the end of the season. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. A couple of things to mention firstly. This I thought was interesting between Jacob and Clayster, because Jacob asks the question, what gun's better, the Vaz or the Tac? And I didn't really know. I voted the Vaz here just to kind of see the results, and most people have gone for the Tac with 53%. Pretty close, right? And it's quite clear to me that the weapon meta is relatively well balanced if it's this difficult to say which weapon is better. On LAN, I think the Vaz is probably better, but online it's kind of different to say. But online, it's a bit difficult to say, and both weapons are pretty strong. I think we're in a decent spot right now. It would be nice if we had 3 weapons or more, right? But realistically, nowadays, that never happens, unfortunately. And as Clay says, the Tac is easy to shoot and is OP, but the ceiling of the Vaz is insane. Can do everything the Tac does, and also shotguns up close if you're cracked enough. Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, both guns are OP, but the Vaz just has more capability. So, spoken like a true AR player, I'm sure SMG players will have their own perspective on this cover discussion. There was also this discussion between Arcitys and Octane as to whether the Hellstorm missile or the cruise missile should be able to be, well, destroyed by getting shot out of the sky. I know there's been some talk about this, because the fact that a trophy can just straight up block the missile is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. There are some ways to work around it, or to try and shoot the trophies and all this to get rid of them so the cruise missile can do damage, but and okay, maybe that adds a bit of a skill gap, but it's not ideal. The missile shouldn't really be able to be blocked by a trophy system, in my opinion. Just okay, I don't really want to talk about realism, because obviously that's not always the best thing for some of these games, but you know, it seems a bit ridiculous, right? Now, in fairness, it was the same thing all the way back in Black Ops 2. The Hellstorm missile would get blocked by a trophy. This massive missile, even I think maybe it probably looks bigger even back then than the cruise missile does today, could get blocked by a tiny little trophy system. Now, back then though, the Hellstorm missile, you could blow it up into multiple missiles that would then spread out, and the trophy couldn't stop all of them, or I don't think it even tried to stop any of them, to be honest. You can't do that with the cruise. It's just one missile, right? So back in the day, in order to stop the Hellstorm missile, the meta used to be to shoot them out of the sky. You could actually, it would only take a couple of bullets to shoot it down, and you could look up into the sky with your M8, see it coming down, and actually you could try and shoot it. And it was difficult to do. There was a skill gap involved, but it could be done. And Formal even was known for doing this, even I think in the Black Ops 3 days, right? He was quite proficient at this, and players like Clayster would do it back in Black Ops 2. So it just goes to show you, right, like 10 years ago, the games had a different level to them, when you could shoot the missiles out of the sky, rather than today having like a trophy system to block them. So I'd like that to be the case again. Octane seems to agree. That would be nice to see. Speaking of some OG matches, I know there's been some drama between Slasher and Eggs. These guys have it, well, they go at it, right, as many times as they can. And Brian Stats decided to put the stats together on what does their rivalry look like over the last decade or so. And Slasher is 18-5 against Eggs overall, 8-2 on LAN. Now, Eggs was clapping back at this and saying, well, a lot of these matches that he won were either in Jetpack, so it doesn't matter, or they were in group play at tournaments, where it also doesn't matter, right? I think Eggs said that in bracket play at tournaments, he's 1-0 against Austin, even though that's not actually true, because in the grand finals of CWL Seattle in World War II, Slasher took them down. They like 6-0'd them in 2 best-of-5s. It was very quick indeed. But yeah, 18-5, 18-2 on LAN, of course. Definitely, Slasher was absolutely loving this. Eggs reckons 12 from Jetpack and Stim Cheese, right? So he's including Black Ops 4, like Stim Shot Cheese and all this. Pretty upsetting stuff. Eggs reckons it's a pure team mismatch, as in if you put him on the teams that Slasher was on, then, you know, then he would have won the situation, which might well be true, but still, just basically saying that it's his teammates' fault that he lost all this to Slasher. And Slasher says, I said it was bad, I just didn't know it was that bad. And I thought it was quite interesting that Nameless mentioned it, that apparently across their quite lengthy careers, Nameless and Slasher are 16-16 against each other all time, so there might have to be some sort of throwback game to settle this one. But yeah, good entertaining bit of beef. Now, last night we got Seattle Surge. They took down Mutineers. They lost game 1. They did bounce back, win the search and destroy. Mutineers, though, like, their search is a bit suspect right now, so it's not like this is an incredibly impressive series result by the Seattle Surge or anything. They did win, and I do wonder if the words here from Sib and Pred and others would have happened had they have lost this series, right? If they'd have lost this series, would Sib and Pred have come out and defend accuracy? Maybe, maybe not, right? I don't know, especially after the way map 1 went. Accuracy went like 18-21, had a bit of a tough time, and yeah, eventually they won the series regardless. So they win it, and Surge are looking okay at the moment. They're not exactly, you know, nailed on to be a top team this stage. There's other teams I'd say are better on a consistent basis, but they made the grand finals at Raleigh Major 1. They did terrible last stage with the top 12, and now is, you know, their time to try and bounce back and actually deliver a good performance again. It's difficult to happen consistently when you've got a player that's consistently dropping difficult digits. And for all that aCuRacy does, and I think he does do a lot for this team in terms of like the outside of the game stuff, developing these guys into the players they are. And of course, as Sib says right here, like he's one of the best teammates he's ever had. One of the big reason why like Sib is able to use his talent to the level that he is. And even Pred agrees. He replies vouch, right, to like Iceman type thing. So I'm giving a lot of credit to aCuRacy as well for what he does to the team. Now, as I say, would they have said this had they lost the series? I don't know. But even as racist in the reply, I thought was pretty funny. 3 weeks ago, it was LeBron or the Cavs, right? So like it was only a few days ago, really, where Pred was discussing how like he was, you know, LeBron or the Cavs. It's a quote that's gonna, you know, we're gonna mention many times because it's just too good. But you know, it wasn't long ago where Pred was like, look, I'm Friday and my teammates are giving me nothing. Now it seems to be a different setup. Now look, I agree that aCuRacy does a lot for this team, but does he do enough for this team to make it so that he's undroppable from the roster? Because these words from their star players imply that aCuRacy is not going anywhere, right? The coach agrees. So aCuRacy is staying. Mack is great friends with Sib, and Mack's been playing pretty well lately, to be honest, so far this stage. So, you know, no changes are coming is what I read into this. I'll share a clip here from the flank where Akes and Co are discussing the fact that they would just improve straight up without aCuRacy. Of course, you know, there's some candidates we might discuss in a second. And also a clip from Shotzzy discussing Pred's playstyle and honestly kind of gassing him up a fair bit, given the possibility, not exactly a guarantee, but the possibility of Pred joining the OpTic team next season.
I know Lamar had a bad first map. He picked it up for maps 3 and 4, but I'll let you have the floor.
He did not pick it up. He still had like a 0.7 in the series. That's not picking it up to me.
That's because he got
the first map.
But he just got world starred in the first.
He played really well the third and fourth map.
He played really well.
He went 8 and 21. He went 8 and 21 on the first map. That's not making you by that map alone have a 0.8. It's just not. Look,
Wait, he had a 0.9. He had a 0.9.
Listen,
less than a 0.5.
Either way, Pin, you're bald. Either way,
what does that have to do?
The bottom line, the bottom line here is
no, he's actually balding because he's bald.
Is bro, Seattle would just be better with someone other than Lamar. That's like objectively, they would just be better. My problem with the Seattle team is like, dude, and like what Sib and Pred were tweeting about, like, oh, like Lamar brings so much to this team, blah blah. These guys are literally leaving him in 6 months to go to OpTic. So like,
that's what the people are saying.
Listen, bro.
They probably are going OpTic.
They're dipping out in 6 months. So this whole defend Lamar thing, like, yeah, I would defend him too if I knew I'm leaving his ass in 6 months to go to another team.
He actually does have a unique playstyle. Like no one plays like him. Like he actually came into the league. Wait, think about it. He actually came into the league and literally made his playstyle like so unique. You know what I'm saying? Because no sub player has ever played like that. Yeah, like literally no sub player plays like that.
Pretty similar.
Who does?
Zumo is pretty similar. Yeah, you didn't play against Tommy.
Nah, I did in FW.
Tommy was pretty similar. Yeah, but back in his real flank days.
Yeah. I didn't play him in his prime.
I just think. Oh, do you think I'm right when I say he's like pretty readable? Because I feel like you always know where he's gonna be.
Oh no, yeah, nah, he's readable, but he's
still really good at doing it. Like his timings are really good. But like, for example, you play him on Fortress, you know where he is. He's top rails running circles, or he's in maps going upstairs, jumping out, upstairs, jumping out. He takes the same routes.
Just run circles.
He's just mastered his routes. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah,
he's
really good at what he
mastered
does.
his routes.
He's really good at
Even aCuRacy was kind of getting on this as well. I don't know if this was related, right? But just the timing of this tweet from Parasite, given the fact that Surge were, you know, getting smoked in that. Well, aCuRacy was getting smoked in the game 1, 8 and 21, and then Parasite tweets out at a relatively similar time. Wish I was nicer to people in the early stages of my pro career. It might be unrelated, but also might be Parasite saying, damn, if I was like in a position where I had better relationships with players, then, you know, he could be the AR for a team like Surge, right? That's possible because, you know, this is the thing. aCuRacy, is it Friendship League cheese or whatever the case is, right? Maybe there's other players that could or should or whatever be in that position. Now, the stats so far this stage don't spell the greatest story, right? Pred has a 1.27 in hardpoints, a 1.8 in search. I mean, yeah, read into that on what you will. And aCuRacy, okay, he's got a 1 in control, a 0.6 though in search, a 0.79 in their hardpoints. Okay, but they're still winning. They're 2 and 1 in series count. They're 7 and 4 low map count. It's okay. They haven't exactly played their best competition, though. Okay, they lost to Thieves. They beat Minnesota. They beat Florida. Or maybe they should have been more competitive against Thieves, but they've beaten Florida and Minnesota, 2 teams that are going to start in the losers bracket more than likely at the major. So, you know, not exactly a dominant performance so far from Seattle Surge. Even Phoenix came onto a similar idea and said, those who are slandering Lamar's name, relax. The guy literally brings so much you can't teach most people to our team and teaches it to the people on our team. Most of my growth as a coach has been because of him. So you read that and you think, okay, fair enough. But, you know, why not? Why isn't he just the coach then? You know what I mean? Like, if accuracy brings so much to the team and can teach it to the team and, you know, has helped the coach of the team grow a lot as a coach, then, you know, why isn't accuracy the coach, right? So maybe he will be at some point in the future. But I'm a little bit confused why, after Surge have looked not great so far this season, they got bodied at Major 2. The 2 teams they've beaten so far at this stage are pretty bad in Rokkr and Florida meets Nears. And they're still saying, yeah, accuracy, we've got to keep him. This guy's super important to the team. You've got to think there's some player they could put in there that would potentially make this team a bit more consistent because, you know, at some point you can't afford to have the, well, some of the numbers that accuracy drops in certain series is arguably unacceptable in certain situations. And can they really go on to win an entire event if accuracy is not quite at that level? I don't know. Maybe they can get close. They've got the talent to get close. But even as Ake said, right, we know that Simp and Pred are going to probably leave this team at the end of the year to go somewhere. And whether that's OpTic, whether that's another team, who knows? But it's probably going to happen. And are these Seattle guys selling themselves short in a way with the potential if they don't consider options, right? Especially because, like, iLLeY's on the bench, right? iLLeY right now is on the market potentially. He's on the bench on the OpTic Texas side. Seattle potentially could acquire him. And there's an argument to say that iLLeY in that position, he's also got some leadership characteristics. He's probably going to drop a 0.9 rather than a 0.8, which might make a difference over time. iLLeY also is probably a bit more consistent in terms of his performances maybe than accuracy is. Okay, he maybe doesn't bring what accuracy brings in terms of leadership and everything from in and out of the game, but there's an argument to say that accuracy has kind of done what he needed to do with these guys to get them to the point where they're kind of winning caliber players, and then, you know, maybe someone else can come in and still do a decent job. Don't know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, but I'm just not sure I see this Surge team with accuracy being capable of getting to where they want to be. And, you know, Pred and Sib, both of them are on this list of top 10 KDs. Scrappy's number 1. Pred, though, is number 2 with a 1.24 so far. Sib is here with a 1.13. Mack's had a decent few matches as well, but, you know, still, they've not beaten any particularly impressive teams so far this stage, and going into the major, I wouldn't expect them to really do that much. Okay, they might even make Championship Sunday this time, but I don't expect them to go the whole way. So it does feel a little bit like these guys, Pred and Sib, are just kind of biding their time until they can leave and go to another team, despite the fact that, you know, maybe there's an argument that something else should happen sooner than that, so they can, well, have a better chance in this situation with some options on the market, not that many. I don't mind keeping accuracy on the team right now, but, you know, I think if they have a bad Major 3, you've got to consider the options, regardless of what the players and the coach might tend to say. So very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section, but I just wanted to close out with I thought was pretty funny. So there were some discussions last night on what is being dubbed Blow It Up Friday here between some of these rosters. So I just thought it was pretty interesting to look at next Friday's schedule with, I don't know why they've scheduled these games on Friday, because they might be entertaining for bad reasons, but there's not exactly any bangers in here, right? London, Surge, Vegas, Rokkr, Los Angeles, Guerrillas, Mutineers. Like, this is going to be a tough one to tune into, I imagine, but probably a lot of Game 5, so might actually be quite entertaining. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.